back to the shop due to personal reasons. I've been gone for a little while. Now I'm trying to find some motivation to make a couple of videos, spend some time in the shop, so on and so forth. And part of that motivation is I added another 3D printer to my machine collection. I'm using 3 ender3s at this point. I got rid of the mini deltas. I got rid of a lot of the other printers that I used to have. Basically wore them out. I actually like these ender3s, and I found one at a very good deal from one of the local brick and mortars out of all places. And it's a nice machine, so I figured let me pick one up. While I was in there, somebody actually asked me if these were good machines. I said yes. If you do a couple of fundamental upgrades, these are very nice machines. So part of the fundamental upgrades I'm going to share here. There's really 3. One of them is free. The other 2, it's a couple of dollars. Nothing crazy, but I think they're fundamental and they really make the machine so much better to deal with. So without further ado, I'm going to pull out my new ender3 that I have not modified yet, and we're going to modify it together. So as you can see, I actually put this ender3 together. I've been putting it through its paces the way it is, and I've been saving on putting the upgrades in beforehand. So one of the first upgrades is also the easiest. Get rid of this. These magnetic flexible, it's a mess. These beds are never truly that flat. It's an aluminum bed. It has this magnetic tape on top, and what happens is the bed itself is too thin. There's a PCB board underneath that heats this up. Heats up in a fair amount of time, but the problem is it's not truly flat. And just like this is the 3rd ender I have, and every single one of them has had some sort of a bow, either outwards or inwards, right in the center. So to get rid of that bow, pick up one of these, and it's nothing crazy, but I think it makes a huge difference, and it's also very versatile. Basically, it's a glass bed. There's one textured side, and there's also a smooth side. The textured side is really meant for PLA, and the smooth side is meant maybe for ABS or something like that. I use this with glue stick as well for PLA plus, and it works very well. So I actually prefer it that way. And you can put it directly on top of this thing, the sticker. However, what I usually do is I heat up the bed to about 60-70 Celsius. I take my scraper and I just demolish and remove this this sticker. However, this one seems to be peeling off in one piece, so maybe if we have some patience, I might be able to remove the whole thing. That would be new. I guess I haven't put too many hours on this printer. Alright, I'm going to remove that off camera. So I was actually able to remove this in one piece, which is rather interesting. I guess I haven't put too many hours on these printers trying to cope with that. I went directly with the glass bed. And this one's gonna get the clips put on. Good old binder clips. I tend to put them, especially here at the back, I tend to put them as far out as possible towards the edges. Watch out on this side because there's the actual solder points for the PVC bed. First upgrade is done. This will require leveling the bed. I use a feeler gauge. I believe it's a 3 thou feeler gauge is what I use. Level this bed. And the kit that I bought had an option to get some extra tubing, so on and so forth. So I actually bought the more expensive one that was like $20. I think just the bed alone is like $14. The next thing that I think is a actual must upgrade for this is the extruder. This is nothing fancy. It's not a great extruder in the sense that it's not a huge upgrade for this thing, but it is an upgrade in durability and repeatability. Two of my printers suffered from a broken arm here for the extruder, and that's not necessarily because of the spring overstretching it. I think it's just it fatigues over time, and this is not exactly like a difficult thing to upgrade. So it's literally 4 screws. So let's get the show on the road and let's do that one. So what I do is I take the tools that came with the ender, keep them in a bag and keep them next to the machine. So remove this, pull this off. Don't need that right now. I am going to try to remove all of these screws. Actually, let's pull off the stepper cable. Careful with the screws, don't lose them. Be careful when you tighten this. Don't go completely ballistic. Because if you over tighten this, it will stop the arm from moving. Move the little clip. Tubing connector. Sometimes it's easier to remove it when you put it in here. Although I'm not sure. Is it the same thread? I might keep the factory tubing connector. It is the same thread. Nice. So there's a piece of PLA in there already. And now the third upgrade. So I figured I'll show you the last modification. It involves the hot end. This is a spare hot end that I have. I might as well prepare it now anyway. So what happens is, the way these hot ends work is the Bowden tube, which is this This happens to be Capricorn tubing, but it doesn't really matter. None of this really matters. You can use the factory tubing, and what happens is this goes all the way in, and it goes it basically touches the tip of, or I should say the nozzle of the hot end. And there's two things about this. What happens is this coupling over here moves back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then there's some gunk that gets built up between this and the tip, and that causes endless jams, and it's a pain in the butt. And it's like you clear it out and you gotta slice off a little bit, you push it in, and about 10-15 hours in you do the same thing. So what is the fix? There's a couple of fixes. The free one is this one. You take a piece of the Bowden tube that comes with the printer, and you cut off approximately 35 millimeters. Like so. But before you do that, they have tubing cutters that make sure that these tubes are straight, or so on and so forth. I can see this is not straight, and I usually freehand this, and you get a nice sharp X-Acto knife, whatever. And this happens to be 35 millimeters. I locked my calipers in, and what I want to do is I'm going to mark tubing, and it doesn't necessarily need to be 100% exact. It'd be 36 millimeters. Heck, it could probably be even 37, but I wouldn't go much higher than that, because what happens is this Bowden tube, this piece now, will sit flush there, and this coupling with the other tube riding on top, now the space will get moved to the top of this. If you make this tube too short, then you're liable to get clogs somewhere here in the cooling section. If you make it too long, you can't put the tube in, so you're back to where you started. One of the things that I like doing before putting it to bed is I like taking, this is basically a reamer bit, and what I want to do is I want to create a funnel, and make sure you clear out all of the debris. You do not want a chunk of PTFE making its way into your nozzle. It will clog it permanently. Well, not permanently, but it's a pretty bad clog. On the other side you leave square. What you do is you put this in here, push it down. Here's the back of this. And you'll notice it just sits below the surface. What happens is it'll sit inside of this coupling, but it'll sit far enough down where you can actually fasten the Bowden tube here. And now you have a pretty clear path for the filament. They make solid metal heat breaks for these. You get quite a bit of stringing. I have one, and this one is also going to get a solid heat break, because this one is going to get is going to become my ABS hot end. I have V6 style hot end on my Creality, on my third printer right now, and I'm not quite happy with it. This is a better hot end, at least for the price. I don't have a genuine V6, although I haven't tried one of those yet, so I will at some point. And by putting that there, I have one particular printer that has over 3,000 hours of print time. By doing this modification, I can probably count in one hand the amount of times I've had a clog. Before that, there was a clog every other day because the printer was running 12, 13, 14 hours a day, and I would come back, it was either under extruding or it was clogging, and it's not good. So that modification, that's the free one. I think that's all I have. This is what my setup looks like now. I'm quite happy with it. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Leave a comment. Bye.